Okay, hello everybody, welcome back to me explaining my final project for Computer Science 230. I silenced my phone, no interruptions this time. This line is unnecessary. I don't need that. Why'd I put that there? Oh, I know, I have that there. Anyway, last episode I explained the loading system. This time I'm going to get into the towns. First by going over the screen, the town screen. Let's load up the game I made earlier. Go to the town, I'll save it at the town screen so it's always open. So there's a town map here. You can click on these shops. There's always a general store and an inn. An inn heals you full HP and AP, which are action points and health points or hit points, whatever you want to call them, for a solid amount. And general stores have an inventory that we'll see in a second. Actually, we won't because that's in the next video, which will be the shop screen. But yeah, you can go into all these. This over here is just the player information panel I already talked about, so I won't be talking about that at all. But let's just get into how I draw this and see if I clicked on one of the shops. This is going to bring back some bad memories. This isn't implemented. So again, basic tkinter stuff. We get our game. This time we get a town, and we have a get current town in the game. That's one of the methods. Let me close out of these. I hope the font's big enough. I might have to re-record all of this. All right. So what do we do here? When we start, we add the player information panel. It's a method in here, which just calls the GUI handler. No, that's not what it is. It's right here. It calls the GUI handler add player info and adds it to our grid. After that, we shop label. That is extremely vague. Where's shop label? There it is. All right, so our shop name and okay, I know what this is. So it creates the this label and button down here, but it doesn't add it to the grid. It just creates it. All right, what's next? Let me close all these. Add the title bar. That's pretty self-explanatory. It just adds, ooh, it's actually kind of complicated. I know what it is. So we this title bar up here is its own frame. It has the title, which is just the town name, which is I'll open that up. I'll open up the town. So we have a bunch of town beginnings and a bunch of town ends. And when we create a new town, it just picks a random one out of the beginnings and ends. Some of them most of them make sense. I would say some of them sound pretty bad. I don't want to think of an example, but it just picks a random one from this and then slaps a random one of these on the end. These are just common town endings that I thought of, and these are just random words that sound decent with all of those endings. Puts that at the top of the screen. Now we made a next town button here, which will always be there because the game's procedural and should never end. Now the town has an is dungeon done, as you see here, which is false by default. And then we can only, well, if our dungeon is done, then our enter dungeon button up here should say new dungeon because it'll have to generate a new one. But if we haven't completed the dungeon, then we can go back into that one and change it, or keep doing it. But and then we create. Sorry, I was a little busted up. Anyway, if we create then we create a previous town button, which as you can see isn't on here, but that's because this is the first town. We can't go back from the first town. So if our game's current town index, which is this right here, is equal to 0, then we add the enter town button, the next town button, and the title bar. But if it's not the first town, then we also have to add the previous town button. And a lot of this information changed, so I couldn't just have a one statement in the if else. And then we had the title bar to the grid. So that part was a little complicated because I had to get the logic in there if it was the first town, and if we had a dungeon already created. And we add the canvas. I think this method's really simple. Yeah. So we create a new canvas. We bind button 1 to shop options, which I'll show you in a second, and we add it to the grid. So shop options, all of these are completely poorly named. It's an event, as you can see. So hit a shop equals false. Okay. So if our mouse's X is in, okay, towns have an array of shops that is generated at the beginning, right? Yes. Generate shops. And then somewhere we set the town rectangles. Draw shops. Yes, we set the town rectangles based off of the height and width of the canvas, because we have to have a height and width. And there's an exception here because if you can't place all the shops, which it might not be able to, I've worked it out to where it always works, but then our town hasn't been set, and we need to try to draw our shops again. And then it'll work, 100%. And then for each shop, we create the rectangle. Do I need? Yeah, I need that. So does this return anything? Okay, so this is where I created this code a long time ago, and it works. Oh no, this is the method. I spent 3 hours trying to write a better algorithm to draw the shops, and at the end I just deleted the whole thing. So we have a list of possible x's and possible y's based off of the height and the width that we put in. And for each shops in the shop list that we generated, we need a random choice from the x and y, and we need a random height and width. And then we set the shop rectangle equal to this list here, which is just the x1 and y1 with height. And then we have to remove all those values from the possible x values. It's weird. It doesn't work quite like I want it to, but it works. And in shops, we can set our rectangle here, which is what we do. Oh, and then this creates the rectangle on the canvas. We are in shop options. So if our mouse click if the x value of our mouse click is in the range of the shop's rectangle, well, this is for each shop in the town, of course. If we click on the shop is what this is. If we click on the shop, set our current shop name equal to the shop name that we clicked on. The self.town.index. Where do I use that? I don't even know if I use that anywhere. I don't know what the point of that is. It's probably somewhere, but I do not remember at this point in time. It might be for keeping track of which shop we have open. But I set it equal to the current shop here anyway, so I don't know. Then we show the shop. Show shop. It's right here. Boy, that's pretty complicated, isn't it? And then we say hit shop is true, because for each one we need to go through it and we need to make sure we hit one. And if we don't hit one, then we hide the shop. So I'll just close that one. Show shop gets the class of the current shop. This is going to get complicated because I have to explain shops now. This is going to be a longer video. Let me fold all real quick. All right. So shop is the main overarching shop class. I can say that. It's the overarching class for everything. There's some random shopkeeper names too. They don't repeat until you run out of them, and then they start repeating. And we can reset the shopkeeper names, and we just reset that list. And then there's 3 different types of shops, 3 different main types of shops. There's stores, services, and challenges. So basically what we're getting in the town screen is the specific type of shop that it is. So if it's a store, if it's a type of store, which can be any of these 4, then it'll say enter because it has its own GUI. And we check if the player has money, which isn't really what that method does. Again, this is really atrocious. I spent a lot of time on this, and I need to go back and refactor it, but rename it. It's just ugly right now. Now, if the shop class is an inn, then we want to say sleep 4, and then the money. And then we do, does player have money, which really just updates the, whether we can enter the building, the enter button, which doesn't always say enter. But if the player, and we run the cost of this shop through. So if the player doesn't have enough money, it disables the button. If the cost is free, yeah. If we pass 0 through here, it'll just disable the button. Or if we, or else it'll just be normal. And if this gold value is true, then we add coin to the end of the enter button. And if not, we just delete. We just don't have an image. Okay, I had to work through that in my head a little bit. Sorry, that took a while. But this just goes through and adds the changes to what the button says for each type of shop. So I'll show that here. General store says enter, that one says enter, that one says enter. This one says sleep for 15 gold. That's what that does. That's what this does. And it also makes sure, I'm not sure if you saw, you can't sleep at the inn if you have full health or if you don't have enough money. So it just checks all of that. And that's the same for other services. You might not be able to afford them. So it checks that. Using the shop also gets the class. You can see here, it does different things for each thing. Different things for each thing. Let me take a drink of water real quick. All right, so if we clicked on a store and we clicked on the enter button, we swap the GUI to the store screen. That's something we've gone over before. Pretty simple. If it's an inn or a healer, then that shop will have a serve method. We can show the shop again and add the player information panel because the serve, let's just go to the inn, serve, subtract the money, and we can do that without checking to see if they have enough money because we've already checked. We've already disabled the button if they don't have enough money, so we don't need to check that here. And then we refill the health and action points. And then we update that here. The blacksmith has his own GUI as well. He's technically a service, but he does not have a serve. He does have a serve. Okay, yeah, we just call it in a different place. And if it's a challenge, then the challenges also have their own screen. Okay, I think that's it. That should be it. There's the player inventory button, which just opens the player inventory. We've seen that before. Nothing special there. So that's going to be it for this one. I did the town screen and the town and shop system. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in finding out more about this project, I have other videos on it, and you can subscribe if you want to keep up. I'll be uploading these videos pretty regularly. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.